I still hear her voice sometimes when the night gets too quiet. "You, security, get over here, now." It was 7:42 a.m. on a cold Monday. I was standing at my post near the main elevators of Blackwell Industries, hands clasped behind my back, uniform pressed, badge shining. The lobby was full of people in expensive suits rushing to start their week. Alexandra Blackwell, the CEO, stood in the center of it all like she owned the oxygen. She pointed at a small coffee stain on the marble floor near my station. "This is unacceptable," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I pay people to keep this building perfect. If you can't even notice a stain, maybe you're in the wrong job. Clean it yourself. And if I see one more thing out of place near your post, you're done. Understand?" Dozens of eyes turned toward me. I could have told her the stain came from an executive who spilled his drink 2 minutes earlier. I could have said I had already radioed maintenance. Instead, I just nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." I walked over, got down on one knee in my uniform, and wiped the floor with a cloth from my pocket while the entire lobby watched. That was the moment most men would have quit. I stayed. "My name is Daniel Reeves. At least that's the name on my security badge. I'm 45 years old. I live in a small, clean apartment 20 minutes from the building. I eat the same breakfast every morning. I don't own a flashy car. I don't wear a watch that costs more than most people's rent." What almost no one knew was that I could have bought the entire Blackwell Industries building with cash and still had enough left over to buy the one next to it. I was the majority owner. Let me explain how I ended up wearing a security uniform and taking orders from a woman who had no idea who she was talking to. I built my first company in my 20s with nothing but stubbornness and late nights. By my late 30s, I had sold parts of it, reinvested, and quietly become one of those people whose net worth shows up in magazines under unknown. I could have disappeared to an island. Instead, I got restless. I wanted to see how power really worked when the people holding it thought no one important was watching, so I created a simple identity, passed a background check, and took a night-to-day security job at Blackwell Industries. The company had been solid for years, but under Alexandra Blackwell it had become colder. She was brilliant with numbers and brutal with people. Staff turnover was high. Fear was higher. I wanted to see it up close. The first month was quiet. I did my job. I learned the names of the night cleaners, the receptionists, the other guards. I noticed who said please and who didn't. Alexandra rarely spoke to people below a certain floor unless something was wrong. Then the small humiliation started. One afternoon she walked past my post with two board members. She stopped, looked me up and down, and said, "Make sure this one stays awake." Last week's security looked half asleep. She didn't lower her voice. The board members chuckled politely. I kept my eyes forward and said nothing. Another day a delivery was late because of traffic. She blamed the entire security team in an email that went out company-wide. My name wasn't mentioned, but we all felt it. Once, during a late meeting, she demanded I carry her heavy boxes of files to her car in the rain while she walked under an umbrella. When I finished, she didn't say thank you. She just said, "Next time be faster." I stayed calm every time. Not because I was weak. Because I was watching. There were quieter moments too. Moments that told me more about her than the sharp words did. I once found her in the parking garage at 10 p.m. sitting in her car with the engine off, staring at nothing. She looked exhausted. Human. When she noticed me, she put the mask back on instantly and drove away without a word. I saw her snap at a young intern so hard the girl cried in the bathroom. 20 minutes later, Alexandra walked past me and muttered, almost to herself, "I didn't mean to be that harsh." Then she kept walking. She wasn't pure evil. She was just someone who had forgotten that people under pressure still bleed. I kept doing my job. I held doors. I helped the older night cleaner with heavy trash bags when no one was looking. I learned which executives were decent and which ones kicked down. I stayed invisible on purpose. Then the cracks started to show in her world. A major deal began falling apart. Numbers weren't adding up the way she expected. She became sharper, thinner, more tightly wound. One morning she stopped at my post and stared at me longer than usual. "You've been here a while," she said. "Yes, ma'am." "You don't talk much." "No, ma'am," she almost smiled, almost. Then the elevator doors opened and she was gone. A week later, she asked the head of security for full files on every guard who had been with the company less than 2 years. Mine was thin, too thin. Clean background, no social media, no long history, just enough to be hired. That bothered her. Alexandra Blackwell did not like loose ends. She hired a discreet investigator. I knew the moment it happened because certain quiet alerts reached the people who handle my real affairs. I told them to let her dig. I wanted her to find the truth herself. It took her investigator 3 weeks. On a Thursday afternoon, I received a message from my attorney. She knows. Next morning, I was asked to come to the executive floor, not for a shift, for a meeting. I changed out of my uniform in the locker room and put on a simple dark jacket. When the elevator opened on the top floor, the air felt different. People who used to walk past me now looked unsure. Alexandra stood alone in her office with the city stretched out behind her. The report was open on her desk. Her face was pale. I closed the door. She didn't waste time. Not just a security guard. No, I said. You're the majority shareholder through a private holding company. You own more of this place than I do. Yes. Silence that followed was heavy. She sat down slowly, like her legs had stopped trusting her. You let me talk to you like that, she said. Her voice was quiet now. You let me threaten your job. You cleaned a floor on your knees while people watched, and you own the building. I stayed standing. I wanted to see who you were when you thought I couldn't fight back. She looked down at her hands. And what did you see? A woman who is excellent at running a company, I said, and someone who has forgotten that the people holding the doors and cleaning the floors are still human beings. She closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them again, the armor was gone. I can resign today. You could, I answered, but that would be easy, and I don't think easy is what you respect. She stood and walked to the window. The city moved below us unaware. Why take a security job? She asked. You could be anywhere. Because power shows its real face when it thinks no one important is looking. I needed to see yours. She turned back to me. For the first time, there was no performance in her expression. Just a tired, embarrassed human being who finally understood the weight of her own words. I'm sorry, she said. The words came out rough, like they cost her something. I treated you like you were nothing. I treated a lot of people that way. I nodded once. No, stood there for a while. The tension that had lived in that building for months finally loosened. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Not overnight, but they changed. Alexandra started learning names. She approved better schedules for the night staff. She stopped sending angry company-wide emails over small mistakes. She even apologized to the intern she had made cry. The girl almost fell over from shock. I eventually stopped working the security shift. The board learned the truth in a careful way. Alexandra stayed on as CEO. We were never friends, but we reached a quiet, solid respect. Sometimes I still walk through the lobby early in the morning. The new guards nod at me without knowing why the CEO suddenly treats the security team with more care than before. People ask me if I enjoyed the moment she found out. The honest answer is no. There was no victory in her shame, only a deep relief that the test was over. Money can buy a lot of things. It can't buy the look on someone's face when they finally realize the person they looked down on was never beneath them. If you were in my place, would you have revealed the truth sooner? Or would you have waited the same way I did? Comment below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself.